And thank you very much, Chip. I appreciate this conference so much, Mark and Joanne. They formed it a long time ago. I've been speaking here or helping out since 2002. I find this is one of the greatest meetings of the minds ever conceived, when you can go from a session on Confucius versus St. Thomas Aquinas to a debate between gold and bitcoins, and now a debate on minimum wage. We are covering the waterfront in this conference. The debate before us now, one of, I believe, 7 to 10 debates, one-on-one debates. I kind of think of these in the terms of the old William F. Buckley firing line. Anybody remember those debates on TV? Somebody cue the trumpet fanfare. That's how it began, as I recall. We debate both sides, and we don't interrupt each other. The presenters get to have 10 minutes to present their case. They get 6 minutes for rebuttal, and to answer one of the debaters' questions, they can bank their time. If their original presentation is 8 minutes, they can save 8 minutes for the rejoinder. And they'll each have a 3-minute summing up at the end. We'll have at least 10 minutes worth of questions on the microphone out front. And my job here is to take the temperature of the crowd at the end. I'm going to ask you at the end, so think about this. Who won the debate, and did you change your mind? You have to think now, do I believe minimum wage laws are good or bad? And then at the end of it, we'll have to ask you, did you change your mind as the result of these debaters? Now, I hope I don't look this old, but my first payroll job was 1963, and the minimum wage was 90 cents. And I asked the employer, how come you're paying me that? And he said, I can't pay you any less than that. That's a night janitor job for you. And that's, I worked up to $1.10 the next year, I'm happy to say. I also come from Seattle, and we'll discuss later on the King County $15 minimum wage bill. But for the purpose of this exercise, we're talking about a national minimum wage, and specifically, if we can, the $10.10, suspiciously accurate, not $10, but $10.10 national minimum wage bill. Is it good or bad? Our experts will come up one at a time. First up, from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, with a specialty in labor economics, PhD in economics, teaches at the school here. He is going to present the case for the minimum wage. Jeff Waddoups.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a little imposing to be here among such a libertarian crowd. But hey, that's great. It's good to exchange ideas. So I'm going to kind of take you through some ideas about why we should raise the minimum wage, and there we go. My ideas are that the institutional structure that generated equitably shared prosperity has collapsed, and reasonably high minimum wages are part of that structure. Inequality in the earnings and income distribution, therefore, has exploded. And also, living in a more unequal society is both unpleasant and unhealthy. And so the idea is that a modest intervention, like reasonable increases in minimum wages, is part of a sensible strategy to restore equitably shared prosperity. The potential costs are very low. Potential benefits include less reliance on poverty programs on the part of workers who receive the minimum wage, higher rates of firm-sponsored training, and a healthier, happier society. Okay, so what about the economic context? So this is an interesting chart. What it shows is there was an era in the United States of equitably shared prosperity. The dark line represents how productivity has grown over time. The blue line represents how the median wage, the median family income has grown over time. There was a period up until about 1980 when the median family was able to participate in the fruits of productivity increases. After about 1980, that changed, and the median family income stagnated relative to productivity. And what ensued after that was escalating inequality. As one of the things that has occurred after the stagnation is record profits on the part of business. So some of that extra productivity is going to profits. It's also going to the top 1%. So during that period of shared prosperity, the top 1% of the income distribution, which is roughly $340,000 in income, $350,000, something to that effect, is the top 10%. The top 1% was earning 10% of national income. But with escalating inequality, that's jumped up to 20%. Now, we're right about where we were in the 1920s. Another thing that has occurred as median family income has stagnated is the ratio of the average CEO pay to that of the typical worker has increased dramatically from 20 times in 1965 to 296 times. Now, connected with this period of equitably shared prosperity was a high real value of the minimum wage. Now, what's kind of interesting, just to kind of get an indication of how far the minimum wage has fallen, if you had indexed the minimum wage to productivity in the economy, now it would be $18.67 an hour. Okay, and there was a period of time when the minimum wage did follow productivity. It does look like it was indexed to productivity up until around 1970. Another part of the structure that used to support higher wages for middle-income workers was union density, although that's not the topic of the day, but union density's fallen quite a bit, and that has corresponded with this increased inequality as well. Now, why would society be healthier and happier, or what is the evidence about a healthier and happier society that's more equal? Well, if you look at this index of health and social problems, it looks like it's fairly well correlated. It looks like income inequality is positively correlated with social problems. So the more unequal the society, the more social problems exist in that society. Basically, when the more unequal the society is, the more miserable people are. Okay, so now to the proposal. Harkin-Miller. It is composed of 3 incremental increases of 95 cents an hour in 2014, 2015, and 2016, so that the minimum wage in 2016 will stand at $10.10 per hour. Now, as far as I can see, this is a very modest increase in the minimum wage. In fact, we've seen this graph or this chart before. If the minimum wage had been indexed, to productivity, it would be $18.67 an hour. This would take us up to $10.10 an hour, which is not even close to where it would be if it had been indexed to productivity. Also, if you notice in 1968, full-time work at the minimum wage would barely get a family of size 3 out of poverty, and that's where we would be in 2016 as well. So it is just kind of a modest increase. Harkin-Miller won't just affect part-time teenage workers from affluent families either. Many of the affected are over 30, are parents from low-income families, and are well along in their careers. So this proposal would affect male and female, a good chunk of male and female workers. Over half of the affected workers will be over 30. Just over a quarter will be our parents, and more than half the households affected would earn less than